As expected, Aubrey Griffin has been confirmed that she has a torn ACL and will need knee reconstruction surgery. In this video, I'm not going to focus so much on Aubrey Griffin's knee injury, but the overall injuries that have been sustained by UConn players, and do they have an injury problem, and who or is anybody to blame for the injury outbreak at UConn. Before we start, if you like the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and give the video a like. All right, so let's get into this. I think first we'll start by just going through the litany of injuries that they have had. So it really started in 2021-22, which funny enough is when UConn hired a new strength and conditioning coach, Andrea Hootie. But we'll get more into that in a bit, but let's go through the injury history first. So first of all, Aubrey Griffin had a back condition which kept her out of 21-22. She eventually wound up having a discectomy in early January. Azzi Fudd missed some of the 21-22 season with a stress reaction in her foot. It was about 11 games. Beckers had a tibial plateau fracture in their game against Notre Dame and missed a few weeks. About 4 to 5 weeks, and then was able to return in time for the NCAA tournament. Then the following year, obviously the next bad run of luck was Beckers was gone for the season with her ACL injury. Dorka missed time with a thumb injury, but she was able to play the majority of the season as well. I didn't mention Dorka got knocked out of the end of the previous season with a fractured wrist. But in the 2023 season as well, Ice Brady, before the season started, she was knocked out for the season due to a dislocated patella. Fudd, during the season, suffered a knee hyperextension when Edwards fell into her knee after getting bumped backwards, and then she re-aggravated her knee against Georgetown when she got clipped again, so she was never right. She was able to play in the tournament, but sort of looked like a shell of herself. Ducharme missed time initially at the start of the season with neck soreness and tightness in her upper neck, and then she had concussion issues after sustaining a concussion in early January and really never seemed right during the season. During the 23-24 offseason, Amari DeBerry had back surgery, which appears to have been a discectomy, and she's made a good recovery from that. Jana El Alfi, she ruptured her Achilles while playing in the Under-19 World Championships. Obviously, Azzi Fudd, after the first couple of games, she ruptured her ACL. And then now the latest injury is Aubrey Griffin is out for the season with an ACL injury. So does UConn have an injury problem? Hell yes, they do. That's a hell of a lot of injuries for one program to sustain. Now the question is, who is responsible for all of these injuries? Or what is responsible for all of these injuries? And really, it is just human nature. We want to blame someone or something when something happens, obviously. And with injuries, it's usually either the coach or the strength and conditioning coach. So in the coach's case, why the hell was the quarterback there in that blowout game and had a chance to get injured? Or the other fall guy is usually the strength and conditioning coach. And as I mentioned at the outset, Andrea Hootie was hired in May of 2021. So all of this has happened under her watch. And sure enough, after Griffin's injury, after I did that video, all the comments were like, who the hell is the strength and conditioning coach? The strength and conditioning coach needs to be fired. They've obviously got an issue there. I mean, even professional players that did it. So Diamond DeShields tweeted out after Azzi Fudd's knee injury, who's the strength and conditioning coach at UConn? And this is not surprising because the strength and conditioning coach, if there are injuries, they are always the fall guy or fall person. The New York Yankees are the master of this. If you Google fired strength coach New York Yankees, you will get it several times. So they fired their strength coach in 2007. The Yankees again fired their strength coach in 2013 and in 2019 after, of course, the team suffered injuries and it was deemed, yes, it was the strength coach's fault that our pitcher had shoulder injuries. So It's nothing new for the strength coach to be blamed when things go wrong, but I am extremely impressed by UConn and how they are staying behind Hootie, because it's quite clear this has nothing to do with her or what she's doing or not doing. She is immensely qualified. She got her master's from UConn in 1999. She worked with the UConn's basketball team from 1995 to 2004, and then worked 15 years at Kansas, and then was one of the head strength coaches at the University of Texas before coming back to UConn and coming full circle. If you look at her Instagram or YouTube things that she's done, she's very smart. She understands, exercise prescription. They track all the players on their intensity, their mileage, what they're doing. All of the players are biomechanically analyzed. I mean, they're all the bells and whistles are in place. It is not because they're lacking on, they're not doing their squats or their power cleans or whatever the hell. They are doing all the exercises, which include proprioception and exercise specific activities. And Auriemma, when he was asked about this, he's like, we're doing more than we ever did. That's the crazy thing about these injuries. As well, Paige Beckers came out and said Hootie's the best. She does everything. She's very smart, and all the players are standing by her because they know it's not her fault. And that's one of the things. If you look at these injuries, there is no common thread. Yes, you might say, oh, they've had 3 ACL injuries. Well, that's expected in women's basketball. You have a high rate of ACL injuries. That is nothing new. There's nothing that can be done about that. Ice Brady's knee injury was a patella dislocation, totally different from an ACL injury. Patterson's injury is chronic patella tendonitis, which she had from high school. Deschamps' concussions, there's no strength and conditioning program that can do anything for that. But again, we need to blame it on something. Geno speculated it's because kids are just in one specific sport all the time, and they're not cross-training or doing a variety of sports. There's no evidence to prove that. The other one, of course, is COVID. Everybody says, it must be related to COVID, and all these kids got deconditioned, and that's why it's happened. But I sort of take that with like when there's El Nino. Everything was happening because of El Nino at one point. I don't think there's any proof of that. People don't like it, but I just think injuries happen, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Like Notre Dame one year, they lost their national championship year. They lost 4 players to ACL injuries in one season. It's basketball. It happens. If I was speculating on a theory, I think it's because players are playing at a higher level than they did before. They're stopping more aggressively, being more intense on defense. If you look at the game in 2000 versus a current game, they are doing a lot more athletically, which puts more pressure on their ligaments and tendons, and I think that's why they have those injuries. Much how like in baseball, you throw the ball hard, it's more likely than not you will need Tommy John surgery because of the force you put on your elbow. I think the athleticism that players are using, and because they are stronger, they are putting more force on their ligaments and tendons, and hence this is why you're getting more injuries. But again, my theory is just as not based on scientific study as much as Geno's you're not cross-training, or the other one that gets thrown around that it's due to COVID and people being deconditioned. The truth is, nobody knows for sure, but the one thing I am damn sure of is that it's not related to the strength and conditioning coach, and it's because she left out one specific exercise, or there's some magic pill that she should be doing, as she is very knowledgeable, runs a good program. I've looked at everything she's doing. She talks to the players about their menstrual cycles and how that impacts them. I mean, she is cutting edge, and UConn is doing everything they can to prevent it, but unfortunately, it is just their bad luck time. Now, happy for your feedback and poison. One thing, though, on this one, you are not going to change my opinion on this whatsoever, but I am happy to have the debate. If you think this is related to the strength and conditioning coach, then tell me why. What have they done? What exercise have they missed? What is the specific thing that this coach has done, or you can see that UConn is lacking in their strength and conditioning program? And then one last thing, because the other way commenters will go is, Geno gets injury-prone players. And if you look at it, I'm like, come on. AZ Fudd had an ACL injury before she came to UConn. That is correct. Same thing with Aubrey Griffin. But who the hell are not going to take those coaches? What D1 coach is not going to take an AZ Fudd in their program because she had a previous ACL injury? That is ridiculous. This is not the NFL draft where they're allowed to, get the doctors to the orthopedics to go all over them to see what the status of their knees are and things like that. They are trying to woo these players because they can go to any other school they want. So it's a little bit of a game of cat and mouse, and a lot of it's just, hey, it's almost like spaghetti. We're going to throw it all up against the fridge and hope that the players that we take in stick and do well. So to come at Geno to say, AZ Fudd was always doomed to be injury prone, or Deschamps, she had a shoulder surgery, a knee surgery. How could UConn take a chance on her? Those are two different injuries. It didn't necessarily mean that she was going to be an injury prone player. That is simply Captain Hindsight fan being pissed off that their player is injured and they want to lash out at something or someone. And more to the point, the best left tackle of all time in the NFL is probably Anthony Munoz. Just if you're not aware, he was drafted number 3 by Cincinnati, but they were debating whether they should pass up on him or not because over half the NFL teams flunked him on his physical due to his left knee, which he'd had a number of surgeries on. He never missed a game due to that knee condition. And like I said, had a Hall of Fame career and was arguably the best left tackle of all time in NFL history. So don't come at me with this Captain Hindsight, I can crystal ball, and you can tell who's going to be the injury-prone guy and who's not, because I think that is bogus. Again, comments, feedback, always welcome, but yeah, I'll bite back on this one. Have a great night. Thanks for watching.